Hello, one. Let me see. Uh, okay. Okay. Good morning. Why we meet again? So last weekend we didn't have a session because we were having in Sedona the Bhagavad Gita 2. It was very, very cool. A lot of energy. A lot of people came to the college in Sedona. So it felt very nice to have so many people visiting and the energy of the teachings, the energy of the group. It was very cool. I hope you had a chance to watch online. And then after that, we just finished with that program of like what I think Sunday was the last day, but just right away, Geshe started with DSU, with the university that Xiaoping is running these days. And we had a beautiful um, inauguration opening ceremony with Geshe. That was on Tuesday. They are still having classes every day until the 25th. So, but we can be back today. Yay. Okay. So maybe little context, small context is we have been studying um, different topics of Pramana, little by little building up. And one of the things we're doing is using Adam's book, first book called A Door to Emptiness, translated by Geshe Michael Roach and Adam Andrade. Um, Adam also, time to time, uses his second book that he's translating right now, is the Destroying the Darkness. And first, we went through some of the initial debates along with other, as I say, topics we have been studying here and there. Many of the recordings are in YouTube. If ever you want to catch up or review something, you can find them there. I still need to update some of the last sessions, but in general, in the chat groups, I give people the link in case they want to ever watch the recordings, and I try to share materials of the PPTs or things like that. Now we start reviewing the run look section of the first book. The run look section is the section of a debate where the school that wrote the book established their position. Basically, it's like a review of statements or facts that whatever school wrote that book finds to be true. So we're going through the run look, and what I've been doing is I try to create presentations, PPT, PowerPoint, or yeah, pretty much PowerPoints or presentations to make visual a little more the concepts that we find there. So let's start. Welcome back. And let me make Adam a co-host. So thank you for being here, the translators, Anna for helping us as well with a lot of the production, people recording. and just for your interest in general. So, uh, yeah, motivation. Let's take a moment to also kind of take refuge, thinking that why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we here? What do we want to achieve by being here? Um, and also using our best understanding on how the existence and reality works. Sometimes to me it helps to make a quick review step by step how things work. Basically is remembering the pen and try to build a bridge, a mental bridge between the pen and the logical sequence and steps that okay, it's true, like the stick can be seen as a chew toy or can be seen as a pen, and it works both ways, and you know and that logical process taking me to my life here and now. And then okay, there is a way then I can manipulate the mental pictures that I see and manifest and ripen in my life on constant basis. And there's like sophisticated techniques on how to handmade craft the reality I want to live in. Even for me, well, not even for me, what I'm saying, like to me, even I have a few years now studying and practicing, sometimes, if I'm honest, I find it's like subtle doubts. I don't know how to explain, almost like subconscious doubts, obstacles, like why I cannot fully, totally yet develop that certainty. They say we always have small doubts until we see emptiness directly. But I guess the less we could have by experimenting, opening our hearts, serving others, testing the system, studying, meditating, things will start changing by doing experiments and we'll develop certainty. But we have to test. All right. So may these activities help us and everybody else. Okay, thanks. Let me start then with the another thing. For the last two sessions, we have been incorporating this idea of if one of the participants want to introduce themselves. I have been enjoying that because it helps us to get to know each other more as a group. So if anybody wants to introduce themselves, like 5, 7 minute talk. Hi, my name is whatever, and what you do. You want to show us pictures of your job or your family or your hobbies. We can do that. Uh, this time nobody say they were gonna do it, but if anybody wants to, just let us know in the chat and we can find time to do it. I think it has been fun. And in the meantime, not in the meantime, but well, maybe somebody, Maria Ivashenko. Cool. If you want to do small presentation, let's start with that. And I'm gonna let you know, I'm gonna
I
share with
want
you.
actually I want just to panel
Oh, you want to
for
be interpreter?
translation.
You don't want to
Yeah, I am
introduce yourself?
interpreter for Ukrainian,
Okay.
and if it's gonna be any recording for this.
Okay. One sec. I'm gonna set you up for Ukrainian.
Good morning, Juan. Thank you
Yeah, good
for
morning, Adam.
leading everything.
Okay. Who's recording the Ukrainian? I gave Maria permission to record in case you want to record yourself, but let me see if somebody else is recording. Doo. If someone, ideally, is someone who is listening to Ukrainian, will be a great person to record the Ukrainian. Gina couldn't come today, so but maybe if you want or can, Maria, you could at the same time while you're speaking, just click on the recording and it will just be recording. So, oh yeah, what the plan for today I have, we'll have to start moving a little faster, is the quick review of what we did the last session, and then I wanna make some interesting findings that I got about secondary colors because I was really wondering what is that thing about secondary colors. So let me share my screen. Uh,
Juan, I'm gonna go grab my coffee. I'll be right back.
Perfect, perfect. Bring two, one for me as well.
I'll email you one. How about that?
Thank you. Just kidding. Okay, I'm opening the document. Okay, yes. This is gonna be just a quick review of the run look section we did last time. Share, good. Maybe a little bigger screen, probably there. Yeah, okay. Um, oh, so Adam was saying that he wants to introduce himself. Oh no, Catherine, that's great. Okay, Justin. Okay, sure, let's do that. I think it's more exciting. Well, who knows? But so what do I have to do? Take her out of the interpreter room. Okay. How do I do that? More. Or, let me see if I cancel this. I think so. Did it work? Excellent. All right, Catherine, thank you so much. Maybe let's say, should we aim for about 5 minutes, something like that?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much and welcome. Thank you, by the way, by all the help in the 5 houses teacher training.
Thank you. Yeah, if Juan already started with that, yes. So I'm kind of volunteering in ACI for a few years and helping with teacher trainings and other stuff. Mahamudra teachings by Elena Mogielse, etc. And I'm happy to translate for ACI, and I'm happy to translate for Juan and Adam because it's one of the hardest speakers to translate, and the subject is one of the hardest. And I actually very happy to learn it and understand it because it's not my best topic actually. So I jumped in because it's just hard for me and I don't have seeds for logic and this stuff. And when I realized that I don't have seeds for logic, and I still have to do my ACI 13. I decided plant seeds, and I took this book, which Juan showed last time, Yips, and I read it, and I made out of it a class, and I taught this class twice, actually. And then I realized that it's not very hard thing, logic. And then I did my ACI 13 after that. It was not very hard, but it's not still the best topic, which I'm happy to um, I'm happy to learn it, to be a master, become a master. As Geshe said, if something is super hard, then you can become a master of that. That's why I'm trying. So it's not easy for me. And I admire people who understand it deeply, like Adam, like Juan, like there are some few other people who can understand it. Juan, you're doing it great, and you are fluent in these debates, and for me it's still hard. I'm trying to learn debates for a few years, and I'm kind of planting seeds. I don't do anything else. I'm just planting seeds because it's hard for me. So, and that other stuff, I'm planting seeds. We have in interpretation school, translator school, because I'm not a translator. I'm not a professional translator, and I'm trying to translate. That's why I organized translators school, and we did in Russian and Ukrainian translation. Already it was two courses, life interpreters. And the people who finished this school, they were already volunteering as a translator, interpreters. So I'm just planting seeds. I don't do anything more. Kind of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think you look very happy and with a lot of energy. So
Thank you.
I think that planting seed is working.
This is the process. I'm on my way.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing and really for the help. I had the chance to take some of the training courses where Catherine is teacher assistant and she guides us and help us with all the materials. And thank you so much also for helping us with the translations and reminding us to slow down and all those things. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so now I'm gonna share the screen of the.
Could you please bring me back to interpreter's booth?
Okay, correct.
Thank you.
Correct. More. Okay. Interpretation. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Very well. Now finally share. Okay, great. This is just a quick review. I'll say don't worry too much. If you want to go through this slowly, you could watch the previous session. But just for us to refresh the memory where we're standing at. The first topic of the, let's say here above, and this reading you can access it in the chats. There is a link, Google Drive with it. You can read it. We finished a few debates. This is the context of the book. All these are some debates. Then we reach this section B, you can see, around school position. In this case, that school is the second school, the Sutris, the Pramana schools. So, Ranki Lukla, here is where we present our own position. And then we start with these things like, there exists a definition of form because anything which you can point to as being form is that definition. And then I usually encourage people, what you could do if you want is kind of take notes. Either you make a copy of this document or just in a notebook or whatever. But if you find something interesting or something that you don't understand about the sentence, I like to make forms. Sorry, make notes. And it's almost like notes to myself that then later help me to. I find that a lot of answers, let's say, come from holding the question, establishing the question in my mind. What is it what I don't understand? And then from there I start like chewing and figuring out. But all right, let's keep going. Form and matter are synonyms. Form can be divided into two types, outer form and inner form. I hope you guys remember this, and I have a PPT as well where I make a flow chart I'm going to show you in a few moments. So, okay, they are just telling us, you see, the debate format change. Now they are just sharing with us information. It's like they are sharing with us their realizations. Form and matter are synonyms. They can be divided into outer and inner form. What is outer form? Basically, that form which is not subsumed by the mind stream of a living being is considered outer form. What does it mean? Because this could sound too technical. If your awareness or consciousness is attached directly by one of your senses to the object, then it's considered outer. Is not, sorry, if it's not linked directly, this awareness of yours, then it's considered outer form. What, like the table? If I burn the table, you're not gonna feel pain, physical pain, let's say. If it's an expensive table, maybe you feel emotional pain. I don't know. But, and then check it out. Outer form can be divided into 5 types. The door of sense of visible form, the door of sense of sound, the door of sense of smell, taste, and tangibles. It's the 5 senses. Things that you can experience with your 5 senses, although your awareness is not directly linked to them. Like, I don't know, this watch or my phone, like I can see it, I can touch it, but same thing. If Adam comes and, I don't know, gives a massage to my phone, I will not necessarily feel a relaxation. Okay, there is a definition of Dorn says of visible form. There we go to visible form exclusively. Because that object which is perceived by the consciousness of the eye is that definition. Here I'm finding something interesting. Almost like we could say that if something has a definition, oh no, never mind. I got confused. I was gonna say if something has a definition, I was gonna be, yeah, anyways. I was gonna say if something has a definition, it exists. But now I don't know. Anyways, the door of sense of visible form has 2 parts, shapes and colors. Shapes, this is when we're gonna start with this thing. Shapes can be divided into 8 types: long, short, high, low, angular, rounded, flat, no flat. Some examples of it. Something which is angular can be the example of a rectangle can be an example of something which is angular. And then something which is round can be, the example of it can be a circle or the outline of an egg. Something flat could be an even surface. Something which is not flat can be an uneven surface. Now, this is where I wanted to go quickly with you. Color might be divided into 2 types, primary and secondary colors. Primary colors can be divided into white, yellow, red, and blue. Although remember, for those of you who study some of the very few debates, there are more primary colors besides, or además, besides, in addition to the 4 primary colors. And this somehow will start taking us to this idea of Chit-Shetrag, or groups and subgroups, set and subsets. And the debate in those times was arguing something like, not because something is not one of the primary colors, it means that it's not a primary color at all. And the classical example used there was the golden rosette color of Lord Manjushri, which is not one of the 4 primary colors, but is still a primary color, just saying. Now here, secondary colors may be divided into 8. Cloud and smog, dust, storm and fog, illumination and darkness, shadow and sunlight. Here is where I wanted to stop, because to me it was so unclear. What does this mean? And maybe it's not such a, I don't know, maybe it's not that, you're gonna lose your job if you don't know what cloud color is, or like your wife is not going to divorce you if you don't know what dust storm color means, right? Just say, hopefully. but the thing is, like, to me, I wanted to understand this, because we've been talking about, like, let's say you don't know what red color means until someone points it to you and you perceive it directly with your senses, and you can make a link or an agreement, let's say, that, oh, that thing that I'm perceiving there with my eye sense, it's gonna be established as red color, and we're gonna have a social agreement that every time I see something like that, we can all say it's red color. But you cannot explain red. You have to experience red in order to either establish it in your own mind or convey it with somebody else. Now, I was like, okay, so how can I see cloud color? How can I see smoke color and the rest? So what did I do? I asked ChatGPT, and some of my suspicions were correct. Remember as well that ChatGPT is not like a infallible source yet, so you cannot trust everything ChatGPT says, but sometimes can be a good guidance. So what I find out was very interesting, because apparently what I don't know to say, logic schools define as color may not necessarily be what we are used to call color. Apparently they call color to some phenomena of the eye, some aspect of visible form that either can be manifested in like pixels of what we call color and pigment, but also it could refer to some effects. I don't know how to explain, like textures on matter. It's like if you are working in a design program, and let's say in the computer, Canvas or Photoshop, and you see how you can add effects to things like blurry effect, or like I want brightness, or I want I want it to look like mirage in the desert, like that. So those visual effects apparently are like what they call secondary colors, and I'm gonna show you this thing I found here. So this is what I asked just GPT. Well, I was like giving a lot of context, right? When talking about Pramana, they talk about primary colors, secondary colors, different kinds of shapes, blah, blah, blah. Inside the secondary colors category, they talk about secondary colors called smoky. I gave them all, the 8. And then I asked finally, what are these secondary colors referred to? What will be examples of objects who possess these colors? Of course, ChatGPT is very kind and say, great question. Sure. So it gives me this, but check what it says about secondary colors. These are not independent colors in the way as the primary colors. They are more like modifications of appearance that arise in dependence upon light, air, particles, and conditions. The classical list include, it gives me the 8 again, like smoke, and then with the West Chinese language, cloudy, dust, with some examples and some definition or description. For example, fog, visual forms appearing as foggy veil. An example, like a morning mist over a lake, steam clouding window. It's, to me, information that's helping me to get it clear, although I cannot yet buy it 100%, but it's giving me clues. So yeah, just so you know, it could be, it's more like effects. They're not independent. Yeah, visual effects. So, but that made me think when they talk about colors, they may be talking about a certain kind of phenomena of the perceivable by the eye. I hope it helps. Now I'm gonna share this thing. Where is it? I always slideshow. Okay. This is the flow chart that we were using. Oh, no, not this one. Well, I'll go quickly. This was from a few more sessions ago. Okay, this one. This is this first section that I just shared with you. It was like this, like, remember, form, it's matter. You're seeing the flow chart in screen?
Mhm.
Yeah.
No,
Last time I was talking about the flow chart and
we still see your ChatGPT screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I made some notes here on
Uh-huh.
the different secondary colors.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so illumination would refer to the light of the moon, the stars, or like fire, right? Darkness would refer to a form that obscures other forms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And darkness also causes one to see gloom and blackness, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like of the mind, right? Um, let's see, shadow, as opposed to darkness, makes other forms unclear. Okay? You can still perceive them, but they're just not as clear. Um, let's see, and darkness and shadow just have a difference in kind of how dense they are, if that makes sense. And so I did want to ask a question though, because you can take these things as being either adjectives,
Mm-hmm.
right? In the sense that if I say cloudy,
Mm-hmm.
right, like something is cloudy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or I can take them as part of a noun phrase. So if I say like a white cloud,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if I say a white cloud, what's the color of a white cloud? Because you have a
Mm-hmm.
primary color in the name, but you also have a secondary color in the name, right? So if I say what's the color of a white cloud, what would you guys say?
White.
Yeah. Shijin says it's right, and that is right. Yeah, because you're talking about the characteristic of one of the secondary colors. You're not talking about the secondary color itself.
Yeah, and that's why, for my own understanding, I'm almost calling the secondary colors as visual effects.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
It's interesting to me. It's like, yeah. So now you can see, I hope, the flow chart we were using. Just to, that's the way. It's one of the ways it helps me to get it down. Is this, like, okay, form is a synonym and matter are synonyms. Two kinds of form: outer form, not directly covered by your awareness; inner form, directly covered by your awareness. Outer form has 5 categories: the 5 door senses: visible form, sound, smell, taste, tangibles.
This is really nice, Juan. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Very welcome. My pleasure. Then the definition of visible, the definition of door of sense of visible form, that object which is perceived by the consciousness of the eye. And it has two kinds, shapes and colors. Shapes can be divided on 8, and there are there. Colors can be divided in primary, secondary. Primary, the 4 primary there, and the secondary here. Boom. So then the Ranlook section keeps going. And next, after talking about visible form, it starts talking about sound. But before we got there, I just want to bring it back that remember we start checking this thing of Mushimusum. It's here in the Ranlook section. Here it starts like there are 4 permutations of color and shapes. Things which are colors but not shapes. Shapes but not colors. Both colors and shapes. And neither. And that's what I was confused as well. Like, how are you telling me that secondary colors are not colors? Or something like that? Or what do you mean?
Objects of the ear consciousness.
Yeah. Or maybe it's saying more like, okay, we'll see the examples actually. Maybe cancel what you say. We'll see. The very first example that something is a color but not a shape is the 4 primary colors. Okay. Red, white, yellow, blue, colors. Okay, what's the next thing? Permutation with something is a shape but not a color. Long and short, angular and rounded. Okay, and now this is the thing. Something is both a color and a shape. So it's funny because cloudy and smoky, now it makes sense why it can be a color and a shape. If you think of it more like as a visual effect, and by how say nominally speaking, we say it's secondary color. We have to ask ourselves, are secondary colors? In a way, we have to say yes, because they are secondary colors. But at the same time, they are kind of visual effects, so they are also kind of a shape. So cloud and smoke is considered to be both a color and a shape. And some things that are non-shapes, no colors, and the classical example they use is the 4 elements. Earth, water, fire, wind. Okay, great.
You should also make a careful note that the primary colors, the 4 primary colors, are associated classically with the elements. And I think maybe as you get later on in your studies, if you're not already there, the elements are can be a very deep practice, right, of understanding. So, yeah, so wind is usually associated with the primary color of blue. Okay. Earth, yellow. Okay. Water, white. And can anybody think about what fire may be associated with?
Red.
Red.
I will think that water will be blue, but no, right?
Yeah.
Blue is
Yeah.
the wind.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Oh yeah, so that's the part that here we talked about the permutations. Then we start talking about a little more of sense of door of form and the synonyms. Here I keep making my own notes. Examples of form and shapes. And then we move on to sound, and this is what I wanted to show you today. I'll try to be brief. Maybe next session we can deepen on it, but I just wanted to show you. So I was like, okay, easy. We already did it with the visual form. So it's gonna be easy to tackle sound. But let me show you what I find out. So the text starts. Sound can be divided into two types. Sounds produced by elements which are part of a person. Sounds produced by elements which are not part of a person. All right, so I'm like, okay, I don't understand much yet, but I'll just do what the text saying. This is the definition of sound, that object which is heard by the consciousness of the ear. Fine, and it has two divisions. Produced by part of a person, not produced by parts of a person. Great. And then later I'm like, okay, what's next? An example of something which is produced by the parts of a person will be clapping. If I use my hands, that happen to be, my hands will be considered inner form because my consciousness is directly attached to them. So I use my hands, it's a sound, great. It's gonna be called a sound that is part of the parts of a person. And then that is not produced by the part of a person, the example they use is the sound of a river. Okay, sounds good. I think clear so far, but then check it out. It says, we can also divide sound into that which constitutes a verbal expression by a living being and that which does not. So then things get complicated because I was like, how do is that a substitute for it? Or is it a complementary category? Should I have a separate chart flow, or is a way that I could combine these two kinds of dividing sound? Now they are moving to verbal expression and not verbal expression. So I was like, let me keep reading. Sound, which is a verbal expression, and sound, which is expressed verbally, are synonyms. I was, okay. Classical example will be somebody saying sound is a changing thing. Okay, sound which is not verbal expression and sound which is not expressed verbally are synonyms. A classical example of that would be like a drum or a horn. Okay, so it was like, now how do I tackle this? Clapping of the hands, sound of a river, but then there is another category. And I was like, the same strategy I was using is not working here. This flowchart is not going to work the same way the flowchart for visible form work. So how can I restructure and think of this as strategies to visualize things in our mind? It may be not the only way, but it can be a helpful tool to, I don't know that word in English, tear apart in a good way to understand confusing information. So it was, okay, let me try a different strategy. And then I did this. Okay, we have sound. We have sounds produced by the parts of a person. We have sounds not produced by the parts of the person. We have sounds as a verbal expression, and we have sounds not a verbal expression. So, okay, let's check it out. Clapping. And you guys can help me to make sure it's actually in the right place on the chart. Is clapping a not verbal expression? Okay, there is inside the circle of the set called sound. It's all inside. Is clapping a sound? Yes, okay. The bouncer of the sound circle, let clap go in. Great. Is sound a non-verbal expression? Yes, okay. The second guard of the gate of non-verbal expression, let clap in. But the other guys don't let clap in. Well, produced by the parts of the person? Yes, because it's produced by the hands. So this one too. So far clap fits into three groups. Fits into sound, fits into produced by the parts of the person, and also is not a verbal expression. So you see here, clapping is part of these three. 1, 2, 3. But not here. It cannot be part of a verbal expression. It's too far, too expensive. And as well, it cannot be produced. It cannot be part of the group called not produced by the parts of a person because it was produced by the hands, and the hands are part of the person. All right, let me keep going. A verbal expression. Hi, hello, how are you? Whatever you say or somebody says using their mouth, I guess. This one, it's a sound, it's part of the group sound, it's part of the group produced by the parts of the person because the mouth is one of the parts of the person. It's a verbal expression. All right, I'll keep going. What about the river? The river is not a verbal expression and is not produced by the parts of the person. We have the horn in the same category, being a sound, being not produced by the parts of the person, being not a verbal expression. This is the classical example. Something is a changing thing. I just use the first letters.
Yeah.
Somebody saying sound is a changing thing fits here. And now what I could encourage you to do after I did this exercise is kind of write, be observant of all these correlations and try to start writing your discoveries, your realizations. So I find one, I was like, okay, if something is a sound, which is a verbal expression, it will always be produced by the parts of a person. So you see, it's almost like a verbal expression. It will always be inside of the bigger group called produced by the parts of the person. But interestingly, it doesn't hold the other way around. It's a one unidirectional.
Yeah, musum, yeah.
If something is a verbal expression, it will always be produced by the parts of the person sound. But if something is produced by the parts of the person sound, it does not necessarily mean it's a verbal expression. An example will be clapping. Clapping made it into this big group, but not into this little group. Why is this very interesting and relevant? One of the reasons is this is the Chit-Shetrach thing. Imagine what each one of these categories as being a mental picture, like a certain quality that an object has. It's like these qualities that come out of our seats and they wrap around objects and make them be and work in certain ways depending on our karma, our seeds, the kindness we have shown to others. And so this chart could start helping us to understand how one object could have one of those qualities, one of those bigger qualities, and at the same time lack another one.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah. I think Juan just hit on two things. And I thought maybe this would be a good time to open up a little bit of a discussion, right? If we've been talking about Mushi and Musum, right? I want to say for probably 3 sessions now, I've kind of just went into it little by little. And Juan just presented maybe one point of view, which is that Mushi and Musum could be tied to Chit-Shetrach, right? Can anybody else think of why Mushi Musum may be something that is useful? Because it kind of seems at first like it's just a word game, right? I mean, what does it tell you about, what does it tell you about the way your world exists? Does anybody have any ideas, any opinions?
Maybe something to do with everything is either a set or a subset of something. I don't know.
No, I don't think there's any right or wrong answers. I'm generally, this is a question that I have. and it's a question that I had as well. So I would love to hear some of the extremely smart people and bright people that we have here. Andreas has an idea.
I'm not one of the smart ones. I asked ChatGPT to help me.
Hi.
And I wanted to find out more about Tuin Jedrak.
hmm
It was interesting in relation to a syllogism.
Mm. Mm.
Um, yeah, I don't know if it really applies to Mushi Musum, but
Yeah.
in a if it
Mm.
if it's Jedrak, it's indefinite. If it is syllogism, it becomes definite, and it's a Nedrak,
Mm.
which I hadn't heard of
hmm
before.
hmm Yeah. I
Yeah, I
think
found it interesting.
it's an interesting point you're making. Can I ask then, what would happen if we took non-existence, right? Something called mepa, right? If we took non-existence as the subject of a syllogism, could we talk about the qualities? And Master Dharmakirti has, yeah, I think Andreas is shaking his head. Master Dharmakirti talks about this. He says you can't take, and this is one of the reasons I bring it up because we've talked about um, what the gotcha is, right? Like if we're going to describe what a pen is empty of, right? Um, is that an existent thing or a non-existent thing? It's a question for you.
A gotcha?
Yeah, yeah. Is a gotcha something that exists or is a gotcha something that doesn't exist? Yeah, it's a non-existent thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if we take a syllogism and we say, consider the gotcha, right? Um, is there some way that we could talk about it? Because the what ChatGPT has told Andreas here may be something that we could think about a little deeper, right? You see?
ChatGPT is gonna be our how to
A
say
debate
biggest
partner.
biggest debate opponent one day.
Yeah, it is our debate partner right now, actually. Yeah. Right? So if Master Dharmakirti, I'll give you the punchline to the joke. He says that you can't actually take a non-existent thing as the subject of a syllogism. And I think it's interesting because this kind of applies here, right? Like, how could we describe the gotcha? That how can you describe it? If, as you take it as the subject of a sentence, right, means that it breaks down, right? So what I'm asking is whether or not something that is non-existent can be described. And if something can be described, then it has qualities.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? If something is the subject of a sentence, subject, object, verb, in English, we have a word predicate. I don't know what it would be. I don't know why I would know what a predicate is in Ukrainian or Russian, right? Or Spanish, even, right? But I'm hoping the translators, because you're so gifted, will be able to understand what the word predicate means, right? So a predicate means something that a subject has, right? It's a quality of something, yeah? When you have a sentence, right? Even if you're not making a syllogism and you just have a sentence, you're making a statement about something. The sky is blue, right? You're not necessarily giving an assertion. However, you're describing something. So is it possible to say something about non-existence? Do you see my point?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm. I
Now
have a question.
I
Yeah.
leave this open to the floor. And maybe this is something we can solve um, over the next, couple minutes. But sorry, Juan.
No, just a question about that is like the difference between something existing as an idea or a concept versus existing as a maybe it has to do existing as a Zen versus
Mhm.
Shizen in the sense of the gaksha can exist as an idea, right?
Yeah.
Because a mistaken idea that make us make wrong, bad, poor choices, they say,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So
I
in a
mean,
way, the
it's
idea, the confusion, the mistake
uh-huh.
exists, but
Mhm.
the object that we believe in doesn't exist. The belief exists, but
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
object
yeah.
doesn't exist.
Yeah. I'll give you I just hold this is what I'm gonna do, right? What would anybody Juan said, one of these things that we're looking at, right? If we see our, I want to say, keep saying husband, right? But we look at our husband in the kitchen, yeah. One of those things exists and one of those things doesn't exist, right? So there's a husband, a non-existent. Is there a non-existent husband in the room? Uh-uh. but, but the way that you were conceiving them is non-existent, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. You mean you could never point to something and say, here, look at this non-existent thing, right? And once again, when we were talking about the definition of a form, right, it's something that's suitable, like a color, something that's suitable as being a hue, right? So when you talk about something that existent, there's a different definition for existent, but maybe you could say something that exists is something that necessarily doesn't exist. Excuse me, that is the opposite of not existing, right? So if I say non-existence is what is left whenever you take every existing thing away, right? Does that make sense? And is the opposite true, right? If you have something that is the opposite of non-existence, it would have to be something that exists, right? Yeah. So we also have something called absences, right? And are absences changing or unchanging?
Usually unchanging.
Yeah, 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 totally. Absences are unchanging, right? So is the gakcha an is the gakcha an unchanging thing, or is it something that's non-existent?
Both?
This
Oh,
is what I'm saying. No, look, this is an interesting question. It's a very interesting question,
you're
right?
right.
Because I would say that those two things would have to be mutually exclusive, which is one of the things that I wanted to lead into our Mushi Musum today,
Yeah.
right? So to be one is to not be the other, right? Right? If I say that to
Interesting.
be an unchanging thing is to
Mhm.
necessarily not be a non-existent thing. Yeah? To be a non-existent thing is necessarily to not be an unchanging thing.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah. In the same way that you could say to be an unchanging thing is necessarily to not be a changing thing,
mhm.
right? Now I'm going to ask you something else. Is non-existence something that is empty?
Sure.
Okay. Well, we first have to establish whether or not the gotcha is unchanging or non-existent. So is the gotcha an absence, or is the gotcha something that doesn't exist,
Yeah.
can never exist, will never
Yeah.
exist?
Yeah.
Right?
And just to make sure I'm following you,
Yeah.
one of the reasons you say this is because when we had the outlet of existence,
Mm-hmm.
actually I have it here, so I could
Yeah.
use the visual. Let me
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
go here
Mm-hmm.
to the dissolution of it.
Mm-hmm.
Here. Check this out.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that exists and
Mm-hmm.
unchanging things are part
Yeah,
of things that exist.
exactly. This is why I asked the question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very
Is there,
interesting.
so is there a category that's outside? Why it's asking me to confirm my speaking language is Portuguese. Hold on one second, guys. Yeah, this is why I bring up the question. This is one of the reasons why, because there's actually a third category. Excuse me. when you think about Sheja means everything that exists.
Mhm.
And you have here on the outside, look at the upper left-hand side.
Oops, sorry.
Can we, redissolve? Can we,
Default?
yeah, well, hold on. No. Go to that upper left-hand corner. You see
Here.
you see what Juan just did? Okay. Do you see how non-existence, right, is outside of everything that exists?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you another question. Is there a separate category, right, that would maybe hold both subcategories of non-existent things and also existing things? Is there maybe like right now what we're looking
Intersection.
at? Yeah, and no, it would be wholly musum, okay? Um, because what I'm asking here is the way Juan has this drawn up, right? This should cover everything, right?
Mhm.
Non-existence and everything that exists. I'm asking you what the largest category of all is.
Mm.
The largest category that you can ever come up with. The largest category you could ever think of.
Mm. That's interesting. Would
I'm
it
asking
be
you, is there a cat?
something?
Because if something has members, one of the
Mhm.
things we'll learn later on in this book that one's helping us through
Mhm.
is that if something has members, it is necessarily a chi. So, meaning a category, right? It's something that has little kids. It's like a parent that has little children and a family, right? So I'm asking you what the biggest family would be. What's the grandmother or grandfather
Yeah.
of the mother of non-existent things and the father of everything that exists? Can
What if
anybody?
we call it totality?
What? Okay. This is interesting. I don't want to give the punchline away until some other people are allowed to
Oh,
guess.
sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
No, and I
No,
don't
no,
know.
no,
I'm
no,
just
no.
guessing.
No, totally.
Okay.
That's what I'm hoping will happen.
Sure.
Yeah, as people because it's better if we think about it instead of me just telling you. Okay.
Mhm.
Right. So Shijin says things. Okay. Well, if something is a thing, it has to belong to it has to belong to everything that exists. Now, why do I say that? If I say the word, I'm gonna put it in the chat here. Okay. I'm gonna put it in the chat.
Mm.
Nothing, right? What is nothing the opposite of?
Something.
Something,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah. So if I say nothing is the opposite of something, and then if I say some thing, hyphen. Okay. Now what if I put this? No thing. You see how the word nothing is based on being the opposite of an existing thing, an object. So you could refer no thing to non-existence, right? When you take everything, like Shijin said, you take everything away, you are left with no thing, right? So you can read the word nothing in two ways, right? Nothing, or there's something, and look, if you want to go a little deeper, I know you guys are very smart and you're all very eager to learn a little more. There's two ways that you can refer to nothing. Okay. There's one that's called a quantifier. Okay. Right. It means like how many things exist. Right. Quantifier can mean like, oh, we have three coffees this morning. Right. Or quantifier can mean, oh, I didn't have any coffees this morning. I had zero coffees. Right. So nothing, the word nothing, no thing, right? The category of no thing, right, can also be used in two ways, right? It's either referring to it as a quantity, which would mean that you have zero, right? If you have nothing of something, listen, like I'm trying to trick you up here, okay? If you have nothing of something, right, you're using the word nothing as a quantifier. But if I say this, nothingness, That's a different qualitative term, isn't it? You see what I'm saying? Right? So one is being used as a qualifier, the other is being used as like a, a descriptive term, right? I'm asking you again because we never, like I said, we were going to go a little deeper. So I want to go back to the original question. This was meant to clear up what Shijin said about whether or not the term things or the category things is what contains all of non-existence and everything that exists, right? So I ask again, what's the category that would include both every existing thing, but the category, same category, also includes non-existent things? Anybody know Kajan again says things. It's interesting, right? It depends on the way you interpret things. Okay. So if I say something is a thing, the way that I the way that we translate that is ngupo, right? It means a what? A functioning thing, doesn't it? Right? So when I hear the term thing, I think of something that can function. So when something can function, it is a what? It's a changing thing, right? So how can we say something's a changing thing, but it also includes both categories of everything that exists and non-existent things? You see? But I think it's a good guess, and that's why I'm hoping that there is, don't feel bad. Just whatever comes to mind. I'm asking you, think hard. Okay. What are we all? Do you want me to give it away? Let me give it away. I'll give it away. Okay. What's the thing that we're all trying to see directly? Nguyen, hit me. Yeah. Nguyen hit me right before I said it. Yeah. If I had, if I had, yeah, I'll email you a $500 bill. First off, there are no $500 bills in English. And second off, I don't know how I'm going to email that to you. Oh, you won $100 from Tim. Yeah. Come on. You are racking up the money this week.
Yes, I also got $100 from Hustle in Vietnam.
Oh, I see. I see. You're working us both for money, aren't you? I'm going to have to start doing that. And then you're going to be forced to put your PayPal or something in the group chat so everybody can send you 50 cents, which would then make probably what, $10? Yeah, I'm sorry. My jokes are pretty bad this morning. My jokes are bad until I have 2 cups of coffee. Uh, so we want to kind of look at this right here, right? If something is a non-existent thing, is it empty? Are non-existent things also empty? Yeah. And is everything that exists something that is empty? Right? So if Juan wanted to do the outline of existence, he would have to put both of these things inside the category of things which are empty. That's the mother of all categories, right? That's the mother of all categories, right? The perfection of wisdom, they say, Masam Jumeki Shera Paruchen, right? It's kind of cool, yeah? So another reason why Chi Chedrak could be interesting when you think about it this way, right? The mother of all categories. So Juan, could you go back to the last slide that you were on?
That's very cool, Adam. Thank you for sharing.
Man.
Because even in this essay that Geshe wrote about Dharanis, they say that there's like this tradition or way to see that Mother Earth. It's called, one of the names for like the mother, as you say, is Prashna Paramita. And now I'm also thinking why sometimes they call emptiness the realm of ease.
Yeah. Yeah.
That may be very interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you think about we never decided. Okay, now he's going back to this is the one. This is the
Yeah.
one. But he's going back to the while Juan pulls it up to where he had it. I ask you again, okay, is the gotcha, right? Is that an absence or is that a non-existent thing?
The funny thing is like it's both.
Can't be. I appreciate the effort though. I mean,
Uh, because
yeah,
because it is an unchanging thing,
yeah.
but
Well,
at the
is
same time it's a
okay.
non-existing
Okay,
thing.
can I ask you something again?
Uh,
And listen carefully, okay? Trying to trip you up.
mm.
Is emptiness something that is an absence, or is emptiness something that is non-existing?
Usually, I will say it's an absence.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think you guys are both right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what's the difference between the two questions that I asked? Can anybody, Andreas, I see your hand. Can we just I'll answer this and then go to you, Andreas? Yeah. Um, what's the difference between the two things that I asked? I said, okay, is the gotcha something that is an absence, or is the gotcha something that is non-existent?
The gaksha is non-existent.
Yeah, the
And
gotcha is,
emptiness is an absence.
yeah, exactly. And why can we say that? Because when we learn about what the definition of the gotcha is, right?
Mhm.
The definition of what a gotcha is that which emptiness is empty of, right?
Mm,
You see?
that's very
You
interesting.
see what I'm saying?
Maybe
Okay.
it's
It
like
could just
the presence of one cancels the other.
the other, right? Now I'm gonna ask you another
Mm.
thing. What would be an interesting way of countering that argument? If I say emptiness is non-existent,
Yeah,
well, how is it going? Does let me ask you something? Does emptiness function?
I guess it could not. It could not.
Mm-mm, right? Because it's an unchanging thing. Yeah.
Mm,
Well, how does it allow things to change? If there was
like
no, if there was no, if there was no such thing as emptiness, right? Yeah, dependence, right? Yeah. Anyways, I think these are maybe some things to think about. Could be interesting over the next week, right?
for sure.
Um, and Andreas, one, yeah, that was it. Yeah. And Andreas, please, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
No, I was going to ask, when you ask, is the gotcha existent or non-existent? Would I not ask you if that, if you're referring to the
The
definition or
definition
definition?
or the definendum. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Andreas hooked up on a very important thing. Juan brought up definitions, right? Earlier. Juan, do you remember what you said about definitions earlier on?
Yeah, I almost adventure to say that if something if something has a definition, it must exist.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was it, just because the reason they were giving it like, oh, there exists such a thing as this because its definition is this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just not examining very carefully, but I thought like it almost seems that they are saying if something has a definition, it must exist.
Mm-hmm.
So the definition for a gotcha exists, and the
Mm-hmm.
gotcha is non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
But now the funny thing is like it seems to me that in one sense the gacha does exist, as an idea, as a concept.
Mhm.
That's
But
the
we could
definition.
never find the actual ransen of a gaksha, but we
Mhm.
can think of something, such a thing as a gaksha, as an idea, an imaginary thing that doesn't, you cannot point at, you cannot find in reality, but you can
Mhm.
But
imagine.
that is the husband we think exists.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Andreas, I just see your notes here. I didn't see them earlier in the chat, but I see them here. Thank you for adding to the discussion there.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's a way that you can, right? Okay, I'm gonna ask you something. How do you prove that something's a color? Okay. We could just say, okay, well, it's because Ron Luke told us. Okay. This is so, and we should also all understand, right, that second school, right, didn't get their ideas about what the four primary colors and secondary colors are just from themselves. Okay. Ranglook of second school is derived from Master Vasubandhu's Abhidharmakosha. Okay. So Master Vasubandhu is who establishes and defines primary, secondary colors. But let's say we wanted to go beyond that. And we didn't want to just believe Master Vasubandhu. Let's say we wanted to prove it to ourselves. Okay, there's a way of doing that, right? And it's something that's called ge goge kyap. Okay, it's the 8 doors of pervasion, and this is one of the ways that you can prove that something is something by looking at its definitions, right? Like, what about a cat? Like a cat being a mammal. You see? Then how would you prove that? How would you prove that? Does everybody have 2 more minutes? Do you think is everybody have 2 more minutes? Into it. Give me a second, and I want to just run you guys through this really quick. Because I did make a couple notes, right? So
Maybe I can stop
okay,
sharing this.
yeah. So if I say if something is a cat, then it is a mammal. That's one. Okay. If something is a cat, it's a mammal. I'll type it out. Okay. And then I would say all cats are mammals. Okay. You see the way these are different ways of stating this, right? Now, if I say that something is a cat, implies that it is a mammal. Okay. Now, if I say that just simply cats are mammals. Okay. Now, if I say a cat is a mammal. Okay. Now we're starting to get into the Chedrox, right? I've been saying all cats, right? General term, all cats. Mammals, general term. Yeah, understand? So we went through 4 of those. Now we're going to go through 4 that establishes the same thing from the idea of a Chedron or a member of a set. Okay. So whatever is a cat is a mammal. Okay. And let's say every cat is a mammal. When I use the words so much like this, you guys ever do this when you say one word so many times, it starts to like sound funny and it doesn't. I was like, am I spelling that right? Is this the right word? It kind of started to break down. Okay. Everything that is a cat is also a mammal. Okay. For every cat, comma, it is a mammal. Okay. Each cat, let's say, is a mammal. Now, you understand I had to go through and make all these notes. So give me just 1 second. Each cat is such that it is a mammal.
Yes, love.
It
Hey, love.
is a mammal because it is a cat. Okay, because it is a cat, it is a mammal. Okay. What I just gave you guys, you should be able to apply to every existing thing to determine whether or not it is one thing or the other. If it fails any one of these statements, okay, it is not true. Do you understand? Yeah, this is exhaustive. So this is something called the Goge Kyap. Go means like uh, door. Ko means door, right? Ge means 8, right? Kyap means like a pervasion, like Kyapamjung, right? So the list that I just gave you, and this is something we'll maybe spend some time on next week, okay? You should be able to use this to prove red is a primary color. And the thing is these statements apply for all existing things. Okay. So this is one way that if you were trying to debate someone and you got to a point to where somebody said, hold on, you're telling me every cat's a mammal? Well, that would be a point of debate, right? It's easy when you're looking at this with cats and mammals or dogs and mammals, right? It gets a little bit more difficult when you talk about things like nirvana, right? And things like omniscience, right? Whether or not you can become a Buddha, right? Whether or not Buddhas are omniscient, yeah? Because then you can start to really define things, right? And not just because Master Vasubandhu told you, but because, this is how you further prove things to yourself, right? Or with these little tools. And these are tools that the monks use at the institutes of higher learning, right? The Geshe Michael went to. You use tools like this, and you'll talk about them for 4 hours, you know. Anyways, maybe, hopefully, some of that was interesting.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam. I think for me it was very much. So we keep going with these things. We just keep doing slow and steady progress through the brand look section. And just finally, one like task that I could recommend you to do as an exercise, if ever you want to do it, you don't have to, but just you could have it in your, how say, toolbox, yeah. Is this like in Orange I wrote like the discoveries or realizations that can come with that. I mean, realization is a very loaded word, but in the sense of you realize something new. And then like that, you just write like, okay, if you analyze this, you write like, I realize that a non produced by the parts of the person's sound could never be a verbal expression. But at the same time, a produced by the parts of the person's sound could sometimes be and sometimes not be a verbal expression. And this may sound too redundant, too confusing, but having it clear, it helps. Like, oh yeah, one of these guys not produced by the parts of the person sometimes can be never could be a verbal expression. It's mutually exclusive kind of thing. But it could be, but produced by the part sometimes can be a verbal and sometimes it cannot be a verbal. So stuff like that. And maybe next time we just review this quickly, but in the Orange I just wrote like certain things that you okay, these are the conclusions after this experiment. And like that.
One
Yeah.
one last thing. One last
Yeah.
thing. You see here it says produced by the parts of a person.
Mhm.
You see not produced by the parts of a person.
Mhm.
That's the first way of dividing sound, right? I'm gonna ask everybody, where would the sound of Juan's voice right now fit in? Would it
Here.
be produced by the parts of a person? Because
Mhm.
Juan, your voice is not hitting my ears, but from your voice.
Oh.
The sound of your voice is coming from my computer speakers.
Mhm. Interesting. Yeah, that's right. I guess they didn't have computers in those days.
Tape recorders. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's why one of the reason I first thought about this, and then happy to go, but
Uh,
when I first heard about this, Geshe Michael always says it's a very special blessing to take a teaching in person, right? It's one thing to go see and be with Geshe Michael when he teaches, right? And it's another thing to listen to a recording. Now, I'm not saying that they're not both holy, right? But what I'm saying is maybe there's an unbroken, beautiful blessing to getting a teaching in person from the parts of a person which your teacher produces in order to give you a download, right? And an unbroken lineage, right? And maybe there's a difference between, listening to a recording. So I'm trying to give you more reason to go see and hang out with Geshe Michael. Yeah.
awesome.
It's a bit
October
like
may be a great time in Phoenix.
that whole class is just a selling point. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're gonna show you the posters. No,
Yeah.
just kidding. But maybe next time. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. We keep you a little longer, but
Sorry,
appreciate so
translators.
much the interest.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
thank you, Adam, for sharing. I got new ideas, so very grateful for that.
Good, man. Love you guys.
Love you too, sending best wishes. Thank you,
All right, man.
everyone, as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
sending best wishes. And now, these days, I'll work to catch up with the YouTube videos, although you can watch them anytime in the Google Drive, but I'll upload them to YouTube as well.
Mm-hmm.
And see you next week if everything goes well.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Enjoy your
See you
weekend.
all. Yeah.